Yo, what's going on, boys? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to another Steam 2 video. And in today's video, I have for you guys a build for this week's Grandmaster. This build is pretty much designed so you can go through this week's Grandmaster as easy as you can, as painless as it can be. And just like with the other builds, with this build you pretty much can take care of all the champions just by yourself. So even if the LFG teammates are not paying attention when the champion is rolling up on you, you'll pretty much be able to take it out all by yourself. So if that's what you guys are looking for, then you came to the right place. And today we're gonna need essentially use the Wish Ender. As long as you have this weapon, this exotic bow, you're gonna be able to make this build work. So the Grandmaster this week is gonna be Battlegrounds Behemoth, and the main thing you wanna keep in mind with this Grandmaster is that this is a very open Grandmaster. You pretty much never have to actually go inside a building for the whole entirety of the Grandmaster, meaning that you can actually take full advantage of range in here, meaning that you can just outrange your enemies and be pretty safe throughout the entire Grandmaster. And that pretty much leads us to our exotic weapon this week, the Wish Ender. This is great against ads, great against the champions, and it also has unlimited ammo. So you never have to worry about running out of ammo and not having anything to deal with those barriers. This thing will always be able to deal with them, and it's also going to be the main weapon we're going to be using most of the time. Like most of the kills that I've gotten in all the runs have been with Wish Ender. That's like how much we're actually going to be using this thing. Since this is also a kinetic weapon, it does take advantage of the surges as long as our super matches the surge. So it basically has that 25% increased damage, allowing it to pretty much one-shot any red bar and also do tons of damage per shot. And it's the perfect option for the range that we're mostly going to be fighting things at, so we always hit that full damage. Now for your other weapons, I recommend that you go with a grenade launcher, the chill inhibitor that Bungie gave away to everyone. It's pretty good. I think you can still pick it up right now, so if you guys don't have it, go to the gunsmith, pick this up. It's going to be great for this Grandmaster. And for your energy weapon, you actually have a lot of choices. I went with the Indelic Kindness sidearm, but you don't really have to go with this. You can go with the other sidearm, the other special ammo sidearm that I just can't think of the name right now, or you can go with a special grenade launcher or fusion rifle. Pretty much anything can work in this slot as long as it's a special ammo weapon. Maybe everything but shotguns though. Now moving on to the subclass, we are going to be on Prismatic because Prismatic is just crazy good. And for your super, you want to go with either Silence and Squall or Tether. They both are going to work pretty well at dealing with ads, and they are also both the surges. It is Stasis Surge as well as Void Surge, so whichever you end up going with, it's still going to give you that extra damage on your bow. For your abilities, you want to go with Dust Field Grenade and the Withering Blade. It is just the best. It continues to be the best and the most versatile type of abilities. The stasis abilities are just unmatched, especially when you have some champions that you can stun, like in this GM with the Unstoppables. So the Dust Field and the Withering Blade are going to be really great, and they can also both proc our invisibility. So they're also going to be helping us with that. For the aspects, we're going to go with Gunpowder Gamble as well as a Style Executioner. A Style Executioner is going to be pretty great for those times where the teammates die, especially if they're playing with a closer range loadout, and you might need to go in there and revive them. And it also helps if we do want to get a little bit closer to the fight to just kind of keep us safe. Now for our second aspect, the Gunpowder Gamble. This is going to add a little bit more ad clear, and it also gives us another way of stunning those unstoppable champions. You just throw the Gunpowder Gamble at them, and when it pops, or whenever you pop it out of the air, it's going to be able to stun those unstoppables, since it is considered an ignition. And since we're going to be building up our Transcendence crazy fast with the bow, a lot of times we're going to be spamming abilities. So this thing is up a lot of the time. It's both very fun and very effective against ads, against the champions, even at doing some boss damage. You can just do anything that you want with the Gunpowder Gamble. Next up, let's move on to the fragments, and let's start with the Facet of Solitude. This is going to sever targets, meaning that they are debuff and do less damage to you. This is mostly useful on some of the bigger targets, like the mini bosses, the boss itself, or the champions, just to make them just not as dangerous while you're dealing with them. And also, if you do proc it on something else that's easily killed, it will also proc your invisibility. So it's another way of going invisible on top of just being like a damage debuff on the enemies. Next, we're going to have the Facet of Sacrifice, and this will make it so we get some bonus Darkness Transcendence energy whenever we have an Arc, Solar, or Void buff. After that, we have Facet of Devotion. Whenever we defeat a target affected by stasis or strand debuffs, we gain bonus light transcendence energy. So they're basically just giving us more transcendence energy so we can spam it even more. That's pretty much gonna be like the main thing that we're doing with our fragments, just getting as much transcendence energy as we can. After that, we're gonna have Facet of Dawn, which just gives an easy way of getting Radiant with melee hits. Radiant is a big buff, it's a 25% damage buff, so you definitely want to use it as much as you can. And since we're going to be spamming a lot of our melees, a lot of our abilities, that means that we have Radiant a lot of the time. And the final fragment that you want to run is going to be the Facet of Grace. Defeating targets with kinetic weapons grant you bonus transcendence energy. Defeating targets with your super grants you and your nearby allies bonus transcendence energy. So this is going to be really good since we're going to be hopefully spamming our super, spamming our transcendence, and we're also going to be getting most of our kills with the bows, meaning that we're going to be getting tons of transcendence energy and just letting those spam abilities to our heart's content. And you might notice that this is like the very first time that we probably don't have a Facet of Protection, but since we're always going to be kind of far away from the enemies, I don't really think you need it. As long as you're playing at the range that you should be playing, you shouldn't need it. And even if you had it on, it wouldn't activate. Now for the artifact, we're going to be keeping it pretty simple. You want to have Rain Freeze, so you can have some extra slows whenever you freeze targets. You want to have Kinetic Impacts, so you can stun those unstoppables with your grenade launcher. Concussive Reload is also good, so you can again do more damage with your grenade launcher. And then a mix of Hail the Storm and Crystalline Converter. Hail the Storm is really good, especially if you boost it to get more shadow damage, since we are going to be freezing a lot of things. And then Cure the Force is also pretty great, so you can make a couple of extra orbs whenever you break some shields. So as long as you have those, you're pretty much good to go. And the rest of the artifact, you can go with whatever you like, as long as you have those couple that I pointed out. And lastly, let's take a look at the armor mods that we have on this build. And first, let's start with the helmet. On the helmet, we have Heavy Ammo Finder, Heavy Ammo Scout, and also the Kinetic Siphon. At first, I wasn't really using a Kinetic Siphon, since I was using like a Special Ammo Finder, since I thought I was going to use my Special Ammo a lot more than I actually end up using it. But since I ended up just kind of bowing everything, I figured Kinetic Siphon is actually better, just so you can make some more orbs for you and also your teammates. One thing that I also want to point out is that this Grandmaster this week has Famine, so it's a little bit harder to get some ammo drops, but it also has ammo boxes, so that kind of like cancels out the Famine. As long as you're not completely spamming your heavy at red bars, you shouldn't really run into too many issues finding some heavy or special ammo. For the gauntlets, we're going to have Kinetic Loader, Momentum Transfer, and Melee Kickstart, so we can use our melee more often. So using that melee gives us grenade energy, and also so we can reload our bow a lot faster. The bows really want some reload speed, so you definitely want to keep Kinetic Loader right here. Now for the chest piece, we have our resistances. It is Void Threat, so that's why I have Void Resistance right here. Concussive Dampener is always just good to reduce the area of effect damage. And lastly, I didn't really have too many points, so I just went with Harmonic Resistance. Although, I don't think there's a single stasis damage thing that I saw during this GM. So, if I take this off, it wouldn't even matter. So, instead, you could just go with Harmonic Reserves, especially if you have the Grenade Launcher. This would be much better. Or, if you decided to go with the Tether, and you can go Harmonic Resistance instead, you could possibly run like some arc resistance, since the boss does do arc damage, and that's just better for that. Now for your boots, you want to go Recuperation to heal with orbs, Absolution, so you can reduce all the cooldowns on all your abilities, and also Invigoration, so you can reduce the cooldown of your melee even more. And lastly, for your class item, you want to go Outreach, Bomber, and Reaper. I like this too because they don't require me to like be next to an enemy for them to work. So even if we're dodging at the back of the map, they will still work and give us some energy to both our abilities. And this is just to make some more orbs after using our dodge. Now for your exotic class item, you could really go with anything. Like the build doesn't really require a specific class item. So yeah, go with anything you may have. I was running Star Eater and also Galanor just to make my super sit a little harder. But any other class item will also work as well. So you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to the class item. And with that, that's actually going to be the end of the build. Now you guys pretty much know everything. Now when it comes to playing with the build, you pretty much want to use your range as much as you can. These couple of spots right here that I'm going to show you right now seem to be like the best for just basically getting up there and just bowing everything to death. You should also use your abilities though. You know, don't forget about your abilities. You get them back really fast, especially your Transcendence. So whenever you see groups of enemies, you start throwing everything out there, pop your Transcendence, pop your Super, especially if you decided to go with a class item with Galanor. There's just absolutely no reason to hold on to these abilities. And that's pretty much it. Now when it comes to the boss fight, as long as you stick to the left side of the map, like over here where I am right now, in the gameplay, you should be pretty safe. Remember that when things are spawning, throw your Super, use your Transcendence, just to kind of take care of them, because they will throw grenades up there, and that's pretty much like the main thing that you would be worried about. But as long as you keep that in mind, you should be pretty good. Now the most dangerous parts of the strike definitely have to be at the very beginning with the treasures, since a lot of people don't pay attention to the treasures, so you just come through, like bomb everyone, and then people just die that way. But just take care of the treasures as soon as you can, and that should be like not that big of an issue. For the treasure, and the other dangerous area is also when the boss does like its dome, where you actually have to go in there and break his shield. It can be pretty dangerous because he does pretty much just like one shot you as soon as you walk into that shield. So for the very first one, you can actually like go through here and shoot from this angle, and the boss just will not be able to shoot you. So that's a very easy way to deal with the first orb. For the second one, it's a little trickier. You know, there's not really any angles where you could do what you did on the first one. But you could also just try going invisible, and if the boss is distracted with somebody else, maybe not looking your way, you can just throw your silence and scroll in there, and what's hitting the boss, it's also going to be hitting that shield generator thing, and it can do a lot of damage that way, or just straight up just destroy it. And after you get out of that, just go back to your place on the left side of the boss fight arena place, even though I know it's not an arena, and you should be pretty safe. After you break the second shield, you can just go back as far as you can if you want to, and just do some shots at the boss and kill him, because there's no champions after that, and you should still get the platinum. But regardless, thank you for watching today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the build, and also the end part where I just kind of told you a little about the GM, since I think this is the first time the GM actually showed up. I don't think I've ever seen this one, although I did miss a couple of seasons ago, so maybe it was there. But thank you for watching, thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care everyone, peace.